You want some bad news? This one's actually kind of like a PSA. We mentioned this a little bit last stream, but I felt like it's pretty important to put out a video specifically. If you are trans in the United States, it might be too late to update your passport, at least while changing your gender marker. We're kind of past that point, I'm afraid, at least for now. Yeah. Unfortunate. I warned you. Not to, make this any more insufferable than it needs to be. Marco Rubio orders suspension of passport applications from anyone seeking to change gender marker. If you attempt to renew your passport or get a new passport and change your gender marker, it's possible your passport might be held indefinitely. They're not respecting those orders anymore. This is going to be subject to legal challenges. In fact, I think it already has. But, it's, yeah. So, what? Don't put copyright video. That's definitely YouTube content ID. It's like a DMCA bomb at a protest, except embedded into an article. Jesus. Newly minted Secretary of State Marco Rubio has reportedly directed his agency to freeze passport applications that contain a request for an X gender marker or a change of gender. They say they'll be using sex, not gender. I think that means that if you've already changed your gender or sex or whatever for your passport, like if you did that already, you might be able to renew it with that changed marker and be fine, though I would refrain from renewing your passport or documents unnecessarily at this point if you're transgender anyway, just because you have no idea. I don't know. We're getting minimal communication right now from the administrative state. We know they're not going to play by the rules, so, wonder how that affects people with X markers already. I'm not sure. Does this mean people who haven't updated their passports are somehow trapped here? No, it just means that if you haven't updated your passport, you're not going to be able to change your gender marker. If you're a trans woman, and up until now your passport has said you're a man, you're going to have to renew it with it saying you're a man. Sucks, but if you want to renew your passport, that is what you have to do. If it makes you feel any better, you can have like a cunty photo in the passport, 5'7", 143 pounds M, and then you've got like, you've got it on in the picture. I mean, whatever you want to do. People aren't checking your passport day to day. I'm just saying, don't get your passport yoinked. You're still gonna want to renew it. Like, you don't want to be trapped in the country. German here. Why do you people even have gender/sex in your passports? We don't do that here. Yeah, I bet you Germans had your fill of demanding identification from people. Probably taking a break on that. No, I mean, it's just an ID marker. Vosh, old markers are not safe. If you have ever applied for a change in gender marker, your renewal application will be flagged. The passport workers can see all documents ever submitted with prior passport applications, and former names are highlighted in the passport processing system. Yeah, the language that Marco Rubio here is it's unclear, like whether or not it refers to previous changes or existing ones. Either way, you got to keep your passport updated. Earlier this week, following Trump's executive order, White House officials said the policy changes would not affect existing valid passports until they are renewed. Okay, well, there you go. That answers it, doesn't it? At that point, trans, non-binary, and intersex people, quote, will have to use their God-given sex, which was decided at birth, White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt told Notice. That's great. That's great. God-given. I love my secular country. I don't know if there's anything that can even be done about this, legally speaking. Like, I don't even know if the ACLU can do anything about this. This is an area where there is broad presidential authority to make changes, says ACLU attorney Chase Strangio in an Instagram video Friday morning. This has always been the area where it could act the fastest. Strangio emphasized that it would be a significant escalation outside their legal authority to attempt to revoke currently valid passports. So if that would be an escalation outside of their authority, that's a pretty strong statement then, that what they're doing now is inside their legal authority. So we're going to have to deal with that for a while. It's not good, folks. I still really don't think that we're going to be going into any kind of, build the camps territory with trans people, at least not with the political capital they have currently, The anti-trans movement is eliminationist, but it would just be so expensive, and they've got their hands full with deporting brown people, And now if you're trans and brown, maybe there'd be like an intersection. Camp's too expensive thanks to tariffs. That's unironically, that's like half of the Millennials and Gen Z are too fat, lazy, and workshite to, build a building. And with the deportations, you're not going to have the illegal immigrant workers. With tariffs, you're not going to have the lumber from Canada. We're just not going to be able to build the camps, man. Tariff the Chinese steel, tariff the lumber we get from Canada. What tariff the workers, or deport the workers we get from Mexico. We're not going to build shit in this country. LA never getting rebuilt. Well, we know they'd never build the camps there because the Los Angeles City Council hates mixed-use zoning. I don't think modern America has the moral ability to do death camp shenanigans. Nah, probably not. They do have the moral, I guess, willingness to do something else, though. I'm covering the bases because this is probably going to be like the big thing they threaten transgender people, or transgender women, not really so much transgender men with, for a long while, which is that transgender women being thrown into men's prisons on a federal level. I have to say, if I was a transgender woman, I would not live in DC, where I would get charged with federal crime, where any crimes that I commit would be like prosecuted federally rather than at the state level. You're basically just like giving Congress the ability to decide what to do with you. So state-sanctioned sexual abuse. Oh yeah, for sure. If you're a trans woman and you get sent to a men's prison, and not to be glib, you're getting. Yeah. I'm sorry. It's just true. It's the whole thing. Yeah, everyone, you see it on social media. Everyone talks about it. It's called V coding. It's really grim. You can look it up if you want. Trans women being given to the more violent male prisoners to reward them for good behavior or keep them complacent, getting so on and so. It's the whole thing. It's just whatever like bad thing you can imagine. It's that and worse. Prisons are wretched in the U.S. I mean, there's a reason why they're considered to be a cruel and unusual punishment, by the United Nations. It's not good. Does this imply that trans men are going to be sent to women's prisons? I'm going to be real with you. Republicans do not give a shit about trans men. I don't know. Maybe. Yes, but did they write it in? Nope, just transgender women. And halting medical treatments relating to gender transition. Thankfully, only a small percentage of people who are incarcerated in federal prisons. Let me bring that chart up just a second. U.S. prison population, state versus federal. Give me the pie chart. You love to present this information in the form of a pie chart. Here we have the classic. In the United States, we have 50 billion people locked up. It's actually 112% of the population. All of the United States is a prison. We're just, running around inside of it. Federal prisons ain't as violent. Usually, kind of, but that really depends on whether you're a trans woman now. Yeah, you've got state prisons, local jails, and then federal prisons down here. Local jail is where you go if you're homeless and they just want to hold you in there forever without ever charging you with anything. That's like the fun zone. If you don't have any family members to like harass local media. Federal prisons, drugs, weapons, immigration offenses, other. Juvie, immigration detention, Indian country jails, territorial prisons, and civil commitment. I don't know anything about civil commitment. Is it true there are more people locked up in the US than in China? Yeah. By a lot, right? As of 2020, it's estimated there are 1.7 million people arrested or in prison in China, which is less than the total number of people here. This is like 2.3 million. So yeah, even in absolute numbers. We have a huge number of prisoners. I don't think we would build death camps in America, but I do think we would turn existing prisons into death camps. Now we require the free labor. Not from trans women. I've seen them on Twitter. They're not doing any damn work. Break their nails. We have more people locked up right now than during the height of the Soviet gulags. Oh, that's fun. To be fair, they did just kill a lot of people. I mean, they're halfway there. Look at the death rates in Louisiana prisons. Sure. Louisiana prisons death rates. We love to learn new things. Since 2015, nearly 1,000 people have died of medical causes behind bars, including 272 people in the 2020 to 2021 period alone. People held pre-trial were 8% of medical deaths, people serving convictions. That's a lot of people. Suicide, violent deaths, medical conditions, drug overdoses. Majority black people, of course. Let's not expand the scope of this conversation too far beyond what we're trying to talk about here, okay? The Women's Liberation Front, which defines women based on sex at birth and advocates single-sex prisons, calls the directive a major victory. And as always, Women's Liberation Front. Let's see what fake feminist organization this is. Radical feminist advocacy organization that opposes transgender rights and related legislation. Let's see. It has been described by news sources as feminist, but progressive and feminist organizations like the ACLU and NOW challenge this characterization. I wonder why news media would call a TERF group feminist and progressive in opposition to actual feminist and progressive organizations. It's very curious. A hate group by the Gender Justice League. That's good. That's good. Filed a lawsuit against the Obama administration for its Title IX directive on using restrooms of your choice. That's cool. In 2016, the Women's Liberation Front received a $15,000 donation from the Alliance Defending Freedom, a conservative Christian organization that opposes abortion and LGBT rights. Funny how that always works out, huh? In 2019, 3 members of WOLF appeared on a panel with conservative think tank the Heritage Foundation. Literally every time. I'm telling you guys, there is no such thing as an anti-trans feminist. Those are mutually exclusive positions. You cannot meaningfully claim to challenge like established gender roles and then go on and be trans. You just can't. You can't go on and do that. They always work with conservatives every single time, with no exceptions. How dare this man tell me, a woman, whether or not I'm a feminist? Yes. Every time. Do you think we should have gendered prisons at all? The problem is that our prison system is like so that you would need to pull up the roots real deep before you could start to do any kind of reform. Like, our prisons are basically just slave dens. They're not like the underlying logic of prisons, which is like you serve your time to the public, you're kept away from the public while you're dangerous, you you learn to be a better person. Like none of this applies. It's just like the hellhole, it's the punishment pit. That's it. So it's like like right now, if you de-gender segregated the prisons, all you would do is ensure that every woman who gets imprisoned gets raped. Like, because the way they're set up is like that. I mean, a ton of guys get raped in there too. It's not like, but it doesn't have to be that way, right? Like we have tons of mixed gender institutions where this isn't as much of an issue. There's no reason why prisons are innately less capable of being so, but we're so far away from that. Is the difference between jail and prison state and federal? No. Jail is where you go while you're awaiting conviction. Prison is where you go afterwards. So a prison is a convicted prisoner. A person is jailed while they await trial, if they can't post bail. Like there's, stuff like that. More of a temporary, like, holding kind of thing. Also, short-term sentences can be served in jail. Yeah. If your sentence is like very short, yeah, you could potentially just serve it out in jail. Anyway, not to, I don't know. You guys are already massive pussies. I see you in chat. You're betas, you're beta males, beta females. So I'm not trying to necessarily encourage you moving in that direction. I will say, however, that if you're a trans woman, you should probably try not to get in trouble for a bit. You should probably try not to get in trouble for a bit. Can you do that? Just, I know, but just try to dial it back a little bit. Okay? Not a great time to go to prison. Is it ever a great time? No. Now it's less of a great time. Just saying. I'm just saying. Yeah, clamp down on the tomfoolery is what I'm trying to get at, basically, okay? The tomfoolery will cease. I looked both ways before crossing every street. Thank you. That's all I ask. That's all I ask. Gotcha, Pole, te cuenta. Do. To be fair, plenty of innocent people are in prison. Yeah, but like, let's be realistic here about the, concurrent percentages of commits crimes and goes to prison. Most of the people there gave some kind of ammunition to the state. Or if they do a cross-dressing ban, though. Yeah, but that would be a massive, like, overextension of their power. Like, that would be way more difficult to do. So, first of all, keep in mind that there's a limit to what you can do in the federal government, right? And so, for one, that would not be up to executive order. Because the executive orders are, to put it simply, like the ability the president has to manage the execution of existing law. And there are some things that the president can do specifically, and the administrative state, and blah, blah, blah. So that's something he could do. This would be a new law. That means Congress. And it also wouldn't be able to be passed through budget reconciliation, so that would need 60 people in the Senate. That couldn't just go like by as a 50-50, And I don't think they could pork barrel that. That's a pretty specific bill. And even then, it couldn't just be like bans cross-dressing federally, because that would apply to federal spaces. So you couldn't cross-dress in airports or in DC or whatever. But what about like, I don't know, in most of America, like in the States, you know? That's a different thing. You would need like a very extensive, basically I wouldn't expect it to happen tomorrow. And it would be subject to so many legal challenges. What do you think about the Supreme Court decision to let cities define or arrest homeless people in a district and said it's not cruel or unusual punishment? In America, you can do whatever you want to homeless people. That's like homeless people and prisoners are infinite free targets. Love your content. I watch you most days on my phone, lol, but as a trans woman in Illinois, how worried should I be? Illinois is definitely one of the safe states to be in, like relatively speaking. Like the big safe areas are California, Washington, Oregon, Illinois, and the Northeast broadly, like varyingly, you know, Vermont, New York, whatever, Maryland. But you know, kind of varies. How's Hawaii doing? I think Hawaii is pretty progressive, isn't it? Like for the most part, isn't their relative support of for queer people and so on? It's pretty good. So yeah, you want to go over to Hawaii? Is Michigan safe at the moment? I'm not. I can't see the future. Okay, I'm just giving you a ballpark estimate. There nowhere in the world is safe. A meteor could hit you right now. A car could go flying through your building. I don't know. Okay. You follow the news. You try your best. That's all you can do.